And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China.
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the
Want to say peace and blessings to you guys. I know that this is a untimely or unscheduled live that I'm doing right now, and so I'm just cutting straight to the chase as far as getting into the presentation for the sake of time. And I wanted to follow up with the live discussion that um, Sister Carol, Berean Scholar, and myself had last night. And I wanted to really take more time to go over a few things. And let's go and get into it. And I know most of you guys will catch this live in the replay, and rightfully so. But I really did want to follow up and give more, uh, even more sources, or should I say context. And so we're going to do that tonight. And I encourage you guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And for those that may not be familiar with my Patreon account, I encourage you guys, if you want to support what we do here, feel free to subscribe to my Patreon account, because YouTube is doing a number of things to, not YouTube, but the powers that be is doing whatever they can to suppress what we're doing here. Cash App, of course, canceled, block my account. It's a bunch of nonsense, and I can say that emphatically, but they blocked my account. So with that being said, so I don't deal with Cash App anymore. I'm not even dealing with any of those things anymore because of the agendas behind them. So let's go to get into it, family. Before we get started, let me go ahead and post this. I'll post my I will post my Patreon account inside the chat. And again, if you guys want to support what we do here, feel free. I don't do like many, have all kinds of tiers and charging. I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to fleece anyone. Whatever you feel the need to support, whether it's $1, a month, whether it's $2 a month, whether it's $5, whatever the Most High place on your heart to support. All right. So I want to make it clear that, we don't do that here. All right. But let me go to pin this so that way you guys can, all right, the pin is there. All right. Right. All right. So let's go ahead and stretch this screen out and let's go ahead and really get into this here because we got a lot to cover. All right. Now, before we get started, I want to start off with a disclaimer I put together here because when you start getting into these spaces, and I'm seeing it, especially whether it's on within this awakening or outside this awakening, I'm seeing spiking the balls on both sides. I'm seeing, mocking, and it's not about that. All of a sudden, everyone got something to say, and I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I want to make this clear what we do over here at We Woke Now. And this is disclaimer I put together, and I want to make sure everyone understand this. The intentions of this video are strictly for educational purposes. This live stream is not meant to ridicule, disrespect, or attack Pastor Fred Price Jr. or anyone else discussed. The purpose of this discussion is to provide commentary, analysis, and a respectful reaction to statements made during the interview, while encouraging thoughtful dialogue and deeper examination of the topics presented. So I hope we are all on the same page because, again, when you start responding to certain lessons and certain teachings, is going to bring certain trolls out. It's going to bring certain people out. Whether you are for him or against him, or for whatever the subject is, or against the subject, these are the type of trolls that tend to come out. This short little clip really gives you an idea of the trolls when they come out. So that's how the trolls come out. They jump all over your windshield, just want to make things messy. And you have a lot of people that are messy that hide under titles, hide behind titles, whether it's a pastor, whether it's an elder, whether it's a minister. You have people hiding behind titles to push agendas and to be really nasty and, really be ugly. All right. So let's go and get into it. Let's see here. All right. All right. See, already we got trolls already here. You know what I mean, family? This guy, Justin Reese, or Just Reason, whatever this troll is. But let me go ahead and put this troll out of here. Like I said, family, when you deal with certain teachings, this is what you have coming out. All right. Can't make it any plainer. You have the trolls jumping all over your car, using dirty water, trying to, wash your windshield. All right. But anyway, again, family, the purpose of this discussion is to provide commentary, analysis, and respectful reactions to statements made during the interview, while encouraging thoughtful dialogue and deeper examination of the topics presented. All right, so let's get it in, family. Let's get it in. All right. Now I'm going to share this video clip to you guys and let me know if you guys can hear it. If not, I could just play it through the streaming here on this on StreamYard. But let me see if it'll work this way. If not, we'll do it a different way. All right, here we go.
Bro, I've done my own historical DNA. I'm not talking about 23andMe and Ancestry. I'm talking about ancient DNA. There are products out there where you can go back further than what 23andMe and Ancestry can take you. And dude, I did mine. And I've got Tribe of Judah in me. I've got Hebrew in me. My ancient DNA says I'm 45% Semitic.
All right. Now, let me play another clip here. I didn't put it place it inside the presentation. But let me show you a clip of Pastor Price revealing his DNA in front of his congregation. He did this about a year ago, maybe a little longer. The full video is posted on this platform, so feel free to view it. All right, but let's hear him and let's see him reveal his DNA results to his congregation. Here it is.
This is the tribe that the lion comes from. Now I'm showing you two images here because what this test does is, I mean, it's really detailed, and they'll show you your similarity with certain persons that they have found from ancient days. Some of the names, they just have named them because they didn't know what their names were. But I want to show you this. It says, of my average genetic similarity to the tribe of Judah, 21%. Dan, 2%. Zebulun, 6%. Levi, 12%. I believe I have similarity to Simeon too, but I can't find that image. But of Judah, 21%. Of the remaining tribes, it was all less than 1%. But it says my highest genetic similarity is with a woman by the name of Neka from the tribe of Judah. And that's a 40% similarity. Okay, so I have DNA evidence that I'm an Israelite. Now watch this. You think I'm the only one in this room?
All right, so there you have it, family. There you have it. I want to encourage you guys. Let's be respectful with our posts. But even after this video concludes, for those of you guys that are in the chat right now, go over to the comment section and post dialogue there. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not. If you are subscribed or believe that you are, double check just to make sure that you are still subscribed to the channel. All right, because they have been unsubscribing subscribers. But anyway, now why did I play Dr. Price revealing his DNA? Why did I share that? Because when you listen to the interview, and I listened to the entire interview, one of the strongest internal contradictions in Pastor Price's Jr.'s discussion with, I believe, Pastor Ezekiel, throughout the interview, he simultaneously does two things. Now, let me break down the two things that he does inside it. He affirms Israelite ancestry as a real ethnic and historical category, because he revealed that he is connected to the ancient Israelites. Okay, did you guys hear? If you guys heard that, you know, with your own ears and saw with your own eyes, type 1. Type 1. And I'll play the clip again just to make sure that I'm not hearing things incorrect. I didn't hear things wrong. Let me play the clip one more time.
Bro, I've done my own historical DNA. I'm not talking about 23andMe and Ancestry. I'm talking about ancient DNA. There are products out there where you can go back further than what 23andMe and Ancestry can take you. And dude, I did mine. And I've got Tribe of Judah in me. I've got Hebrew in me. My ancient DNA says I'm 45% Semitic.
Okay, so let's play the DNA revealing of his DNA one more time, so that way we can make sure we are putting things in its proper context.
This is the tribe that the lion comes from. Now I'm showing you two images here because what this test does is, I mean, it's really detailed, and they'll show you your similarity with certain persons that they have found from ancient days. some of the names, they just have named them because they didn't know what their names were. But I want to show you this. It says, of my average genetic similarity to the tribe of Judah, 21%. Dan, 2%. Zebulun, 6%. Levi, 12%. I believe I have similarity to Simeon too, but I can't find that image. But of Judah, 21%. Of the remaining tribes, it was all less than 1%. But it says my highest genetic similarity is with a woman by the name of Nekah from the tribe of Judah. And that's a 40% similarity. Okay, so I have DNA evidence that I'm an Israelite. Now watch this. You think I'm the only one in this room?
And so, number one, he affirms Israelite ancestry as a real ethnic historical category in which he's clear that he's an Israelite, according to his DNA. Number two, this is the other thing that really stood out in his dialogue with Pastor Ezekiel. He speaks about Hebrew Israelites almost entirely as a theological movement or religious ideology external to himself. Have you guys noticed that? Let me say that again. He speaks about the Hebrew Israelites almost entirely as a theological movement or religious ideology external to himself. Almost like in a third person's narrative. He affirms, again, Israelite ancestry as a real ethnic historical category, but he speaks about Hebrew Israelites almost entirely as a theological movement or religious ideology external to himself. So in contradiction, Pastor Frederick Price Jr. says, dark-skinned Israelites existed. West Africans may descend from Israelites. Deuteronomy 28 may connect historically. He himself has the tribe of Judah and Semitic DNA markers and Israelite mixed throughout Africa. Let me say that again. He stated that dark-skinned Israelites existed. West Africans, many descended from Israelites. Deuteronomy connects historically. He himself has the tribe of Judah, and I believe he said 43 or 44% Semitic DNA markers. And he also made it clear that Israelites mixed throughout Africa. Those are the things that he pointed out. Yet after saying all of that, he continues speaking about the Hebrew Israelites as though we are merely a separate religious sect rather than a people claiming and standing on ethnicity and covenantal identity. So ethnic identity and covenant identity with the Most High. Right? But the ethnic identity, right, through the covenant that we have with the Most High, because we know that we bloodline Israelites, but then we deal with the things that come with the territory, which is the covenant, the heritage that comes with the territory. Now, I want to make sure you guys catch this, right? And I hope you guys grab hold of this, because throughout the interview, again, he speaks on the Hebrew Israelites as if he's not an Israelite himself, but yet he says he's an Israelite. That's my observation. If he truly believes he has Israelite ancestry, then technically he himself would fit under the broad ethnic description Hebrew Israelite. he would be a Hebrew Israelite. Am I correct, family? He would be a Hebrew Israelite. Now, how many of you guys actually watched the full interview or even the portion of it that I uploaded on this channel? Now, did it feel like or seem as if when the Hebrew Israelites being brought up, it was as if he's not an Hebrew Israelite, even though he is making it clear that he has Israelite identity through bloodline. Did you guys catch that? If you agree with that, type 1 and I'll read some of your responses. If you disagree, type 2. Again, you're entitled to feel how you feel. I'm not trying to tell you how to think and how to feel, but if you agree with me, type 1. If you disagree with me, type 2, and that's fine. So let's see some of the comments here before we continue. The responses, rather. It's Amita, or Amite, excuse me if I mispronounce your name, agrees with what I just said. Shout outs to No Wait, Please Don't, agrees with me. L. McMillan agrees with me. Shout outs to you. Let's see here. Cha'aya, excuse me if I can't pronounce it all. I think it says Ka'aya Makar. I watched the entire interview. He definitely separated himself like he's different, even with bloodline. All right. And family, it's nothing wrong with highlighting what you observed. It's not a sin. It's not a ridicule. It's not a harsh critique. It's what I observed, and I'm sure you guys observed the same thing. Shout outs to Sister Carol in the building. She observed the same thing. Appreciate you, sis, for holding down the chat. Let's see here. Brother Arthur, he agrees. Who else already got a response from Ka'aya Makar? Let's see who else. Patricia, Sister Patricia, she agrees. Amar Yashara all agrees. Let's see here. Rita, Sister Rita, says, number one, he is also seeing through the eyes of Christianity. Right? All right. Let's see here. Karaya agrees. What Now agrees. Get Wise agrees. Jabbar agrees. Sister Jerry, peace and blessings to you. Sister Jerry Carroll, appreciate the love and support over the years. She agrees. Let's see who else. We'll get a few more in. Carlito Q agrees. Let's see here. Geometry agrees. So far, it looks like everyone is in agreement with it. Let's see here. Amar Yasharal, he doesn't want to be labeled as anti-Semitism, so he's not going to full claim. I hear what you're saying. All right. And let's see here. All right, let's continue here, family. All right. So for the most part, looks like we all are in agreement with my observation. All right. So here's another video clip I want to highlight here. All right. Here's another video clip. Let me play it again. Matter of fact, let me know if you guys can hear it. Let's try it again.
So Acts 13. Let's go with like the first 5 or 6 verses. The scripture says there were certain prophets and teachers, and then it starts to list them. Now, after the list is given, the scripture says, separate unto me Saul and Barnabas. But there's some names given before that. 3 names. I'm gonna start with the last name first. Manaen. Manaen was someone who grew up with Herod's family. So odds are he was an Edomite. And you've probably heard the view of Hebrew Israelites on Edomites.
Hmm.
I'm going to say they're partly right and partly wrong.
Okay.
But we can get to that later.
Okay.
It's the first two names that stand out. It's crazy. The first is a man named Niger. His name is Simon, but they say Simon called Niger. And Niger means black.
Yes.
So this man was black.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know if you're familiar with the term Negus, Negus.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's an Ethiopian term of nobility.
Yes.
You see how it got perverted.
Yes.
We don't even need to say the word
Yes.
that clearly came from that word, right?
Absolutely.
So it's Niger in a sense is another way that you could say that. And we're familiar with the African nation
Yes.
of Niger.
Yes.
Right? Niger means black. All right. So remember, 3 names are listed. The last name is Manaen. The first name is Niger. The next name is Lucius. That don't sound Hebrew to me. That sounds Latin.
Yeah.
Bro, Lucius means white. Is it a coincidence, Ezekiel? One who's named after the prophet. Is it a coincidence that the scripture says there were teachers and prophets in the land, and the first 2 names are black and white?
Ugh.
Niger, Simon,
Oh man.
or Simon or Simeon. I think it's Simeon.
Yes, I mean, yes.
Called Niger and Lucius. Literally. You can read it like this.
That's so beautiful.
You can read it like this. There were certain prophets and teachers, black and white.
All right. Now, like the old school would say, when I did this lesson last night, like my grandmother would say, I left a lot of meat on the bone. I left a lot of meat on the bone. So I'm going to give you guys clarity. We're going to walk this thing out because he said a lot here. Let's walk this thing out. He stated, quote, his name is Simeon or Simon, but they say Simon called Niger, and Niger means black. So this man was black. Okay. So we have a lot to unpack here, family. We have a lot to unpack. Does Niger, and we're going to give you the proper clarity about how to actually pronounce this word, but does Niger mean black? Does it mean black? Or is the Niger a title? We're going to answer this question, family. Let's go to Acts chapter 13, verse 1, and I'm going to walk you guys through this, right? Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets, teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch, and Saul. So let's start with Niger, Niger, right? We're going to walk this out. Follow me with this. Follow me with this. Let's walk this out, family. Niger, African nation, named for the river Niger, mentioned by that name, 1520s. Leo Africanus goes on to say probably an alteration by influence of Latin Niger, in other words, black. And it goes on to say big river sea. We see here where it says translated in Arabic as Na'ar al-Anar or Anhar, Anhur. In other words, river of rivers. But let's go to the Greek definition of this word, because again, a lot of things can get lost in transliteration. This is coming from the Greek Strong's 3526. And look at how it's pronounced there. Look at how it's pronounced there. Matter of fact, let me allow you to hear the pronunciation of this word in Greek.
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger.
All right. So that is the proper pronunciation of this word. It's not Niger. But it says here in Latin, the origin of this word, it says black, a Christian. Then we see down here where it says Niger, right? Or Niger, Niger, and it says equal black. It says it's a surname of the prophet Simeon. This is key here, surname. That is key. Let's break it down here. Let's break it down. So what is the proper pronunciation of this Niger? According to the Greek Strongs, let me play it one more time.
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
All right. That is coming from the Greek Strongs. That is the entry for that word. That's the proper pronunciation. All right. It's up here again. I'm not going to play it again. Actually, I might as well, since I have it up here, let me unmute so that way you can hear it. Here we go.
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
All right. So is this word Negro, because we all know what Negro is. So is Negro interchangeable or connected to, as we just highlighted here,
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
Are these words interchangeable? Well, let's answer this question. Online etymology dictionary definition compared to the Barnhart Concise Dictionary etymology, right? We're going to compare the two here. Did I put both of them here? I'm not sure if I did, but this is coming from the Barnhart Concise Dictionary of Etymology. Let's see what this entry says about Negro. It says here, black-skinned person from Africa or of African descent, borrowed from Spanish or Portugal or Portuguese, Negro, black, Negro from Latin, as you see here again, Latin.
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
All right. And the adjective 1594. So we see Negro is connected to the Latin, as it's pronounced today, Niger. We see these two words are connected according to this entry here in this etymology dictionary. All right. So what is the proper pronunciation? Again, I gave it to you. I'm not going to play it again because I know how these algorithms work here, but we'll play it a little later. But is it the same as Niger? You guys already heard the difference between it, but let's give some more information on the word that we've come to know, Nigger, according to the Century Dictionary, 1895. Let's see what it says about this word here. It reads, it says, Nigger, formerly Niger, Neger, Nagar, and then we see Neager. Okay. But then it goes on to say, Spain, Portugal, right? Negro, right? Italy, Negro, a black man, Negro. And it tells us to see Negro. But then it says Nigger is not as generally supposed a corruption of Negro, but is regularly developed from the earlier form Neger. And I'm spelling this way for a reason, just to keep things in a certain place, because I know, again, how when I say they, the powers that be of this platform has really been doing a lot to this channel. So again, which is derived through the French from Spain, Portugal, Negro, from which English Negro is taken directly. So we see Negro and Niger as well as Nigger are connected. As we see here, a black man, a Negro. So Nigger is more English in form than Negro and was formerly and to some extent still is used without appropriate intent. But its use is now confined to colloquial or illiterate speech, in which it generally conveys more or less. So now it's telling us how this word Nigger was made into a slang colloquialism, right? But let me show you here that word Negro had a unique meaning in the United States. I'm not sure if some of you guys know this, but the word Negro had a unique meaning in the United States. So this is the Negro Law of South Carolina by John Belton O'Neill, 1848, page 9. Look at what it says about Negro. It says here, Negro Law of South Carolina. That's right. There were Negro laws and they still are in place. They just have layers, right, on top of it, right, to kind of they change the wordings and you know, but you still see the results. You still see these type of laws existing, right? But anyway, Section 1, the Act of 1740, Section 1 declares all Negroes and Indians, in other words, free Indians, in enmity with this government, Negroes, mulattoes, mestizos, who now are free, accepted to be slaves, the offsprings to follow the condition of the mother, and that such slaves are chattel, in other words, cattle, personal. Section 2, under this provision, it has been uniformly held that color is prima facie evidence that the party bearing the color of a Negro, mulatto, or mestizo is a slave, but the same prima facie results does not follow from the Indian color. Section 4. Now, this is the key. Look at how they really, for us, the United States define Negro specifically here, outside of the normal definition of other territories around the world, like such as Egypt, and other parts of Africa. But look at what it says here. Look at how it describes a Negro. Look at how it defines Negro. The term Negro is confined to slave Africans. So that word Negro is connected to what? Being slaves here. That's how it's identified here inside this country. You also have what is called the Black Codes, right? All synonymous. That started in Barbados. So the term Negro is confined to slave Africans. In other words, the ancient Berbers and their descendants. It does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as the Egyptians, Moors, or the Negro Asiatics, such as the Lascars. So as you can see, family, that the word Negro for the United States has a unique meaning. Oh yeah, family. See, if we really want to deal with reparations, we cannot allow the goalpost to continue to be moved, because if you allow, like President Obama said, we're going to be called African Americans, but on the law books, historically here identify us as Negroes, by them changing that. And if you embrace African Americans, guess what? You are forfeiting your opportunity for reparations, or you at least fight for it. Why? Because on record, we are defined as Negroes. All right. Anyway, let's continue. Don't want to spend too much time here for the sake of time. All right. So let's look at Nigger in Oxford Compact Dictionary. Let's see how it's defined. All right. You see it here. Okay. Let's go back here. Let me zoom it in a little so that way you guys can see it. right? This is micro. When I say this is literally microfilm, and it was a miracle for me to be able to scan this. Nigger, right? Variant of Niggard, right? But here it is. This is the key right here. Nigger, also Niggar, alteration of Neger, also Niger and Nigre. So it says a Negro. That's the key. A Negro. Nigger is synonymous to Negro. But then it says colloquial. Now you're getting into colloquialism. And usually contemptuous, right? It's been made into a slur. As we see here, it says 1786, Burns ordination. I think that's 4. How graceless Ham Lou at, I can't read all of that, but nevertheless, it says, which made Canaan a Nigger. So you see, Canaan is being referred to as Nigger. But now we hear today that the Canaanites are who? Caucasians. Have you noticed that, family? In 1786, as you see here, you have an entry here in this definition. Well, actually, 1811, it says here, 1786, which made Canaan a Nigger. Yeah, family, it's here. But look at here. Look at this entry that's pretty interesting here, right? As you see here, it says contempt of the poor blacks, or Niggers, as they're called, seems the national sin of America. So it's saying that the United States had made this word into a colloquial term and refer to this as being what? A national sin of this country. So contempt, again, this is a key quote from it. Contempt of poor blacks, or Nigger, as they are called, seems the national sins of America. Now, this is another portion of this quote, Dr. Price quote. And I don't know if you're familiar with the term negus, Negus. So it is, it's an Ethiopian term of nobility. You see how it got perverted. Let me read it again. Now, I copied this directly from the transcript, so that's why there's some typos here. But anyway, it says here, it's an Ethiopian term of nobility. You see how it got perverted. All right. So he's recognizing this word Negus and the connection to Nigger or Niger. He's showing the connection here. But I'm going to show you, even with this connection, I'm going to use this to show the flaw in the something else he stated here about Simeon and the connection with, anyway, let me go ahead and get into it. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So when we go to the etymology dictionary again of Negus, negus, look at what it says. It says negus, Negus, title of the ruler of Abyssinia, right? So he's correct, nobility, right? And then it says from Amharic, Negush, in other words, king, from stem of Nagasha, in other words, he forced ruled. So negus, Negus, is a reputable term. All right, now this is getting into Gaaz, which today is called Giz or Ge'ez. I'm not going to get into all of this, family, for the sake of time. Let me go ahead and just bypass this. We don't really need to get into this right now. But Negus, right, means king of kings. You also see the term Lord of Lords. You see Negus, kings or Lord. Is that true? Well, let's go ahead and give clarity here. Negus, noun, Nigaste, or Niggers, or Nigga. Look at what it says here. A unique derivative of an ancient title. Negus, Negus, noun, is king, a term originated from Abyssinia, a king used as a title of the sovereign of Ethiopia. This term is originated by its native Ethiopian Amharic language. Since the creation of the title, Negus has been used to identify but defined differently to psychologically change the minds of captive Americans to rethink of themselves as someone less than whom they are. And then it gives some additional information here. Many Western names like Negus originated from religious texts like the Bible, right? It gives some other sources here, but it goes on to say, because I'm not going to butcher pronouncing this here, right? And also the Quran and so on. Often these names related to a religious expression such as worthy of praise. Now, this is where you get this term Negus, Nigaste, in other words, King of Kings. And this is a prayer. Negus, not Nigaste, means King of Kings or Lord of Lords. Now, in the ancient pronunciation of Gaaz, it'll be Nagas, Nagasta, because there was no E sounds or U sounds in ancient Gaaz. All right. But let's continue, family. Let's go to the Oxford Compact Dictionary definition of Negus, right? And it confirms this Amharic Negus or Nagas, or however we want to pronounce it. But you see the connection here, right? But let's continue to build on this, family. Let's continue to build on this. Let me see. So I thought I saw some here. All right. But anyway, so what is the Hebrew word synonymous to Negus? What is the Hebrew word synonymous to Negus? Well, let's answer this. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 2. Also in time past, when Saul was king over us, thou was he that led us out and brought us in Israel. And Yahweh said to thee, thou shalt feed my people, Israel, and thou shalt be a captain over Israel. Now, the ancient Hebrew word you see here is Nagayad, and the ancient is Nagad. That's the primitive root. The primitive root is Nagad. But let's take it a step further. Let's go to the definition of this word that's transliterated to captain in that particular text. So you see Nagid or Nagid. That's the Israeli pronunciation of this. But we see a commander, civil, military, or religious. We see here governor, but the key is leader. We see noble, but the key is leader. So make a note of this, family. I'm going to bring this all together so we can get proper clarity. So the Hebrew Nagad, Nagayad, and Nagid is synonymous to the Ethiopian title Negus. Okay, we're getting there, family. We're building this up here. Follow me here. So when we go to Negus, let's see what Negus again, the etymology definition of this word again is going to confirm it. A ruler of Abyssinia, right? King, right? So reiterating that point. So again, Negus is connected to the word Negro. So let me introduce you to a man by the name of Yahya the Negro. And it's documented that he is connected to King David, right? I'm not going to go into the details of this. I'm just going to read just a little bit out of this. This is coming from the Jewish Encyclopedia, volume 12, Yahya Negro or Negro. This is Yahya, Portuguese family of the Middle Ages, members of which were prominent in Portugal, Spain, Italy, and Turkey. Certain individuals of the family bore the additional cognomen Negro, which with reference to the Moors, from whom several of their estates had been ordained. The more prominent members of the family are as follows. So now it gives you some additional, as far as the lineage here, of Yahya Ibn Ya'ish, right? It gives another one here, Joseph Ibn Yahya ha Zakan or Zakin, which is the grandson of Yahya ben Ya'ish, right? So just giving you a history of them. But let's continue here, family. I'm not going to go too deep with this because this requires a whole another set of teachings here. But let me continue here, right? But these are Negroes, family. These are Negroes. These are Israelites. And here's a key quote here. It says here, let's see here. Yahya Ibn Ya'ish, who was his receiver of customs, and to whom he gave 2 estates, Aldeas dos Negro, which had belonged to the Moors. Now, this transliterates to the village of the blacks. Yes, family, the village of the blacks. Let's fast forward here. So Aldeas dos Negro actually transliterates to village of the blacks. Okay. So we could go further into this, but I'm not going to go into the details of this because, again, for the sake of time, this would take a lot of time to go through. But we'll do a follow-up teaching on this. I did a teaching on this a while back. But let's go back to Acts chapter 13, verse 1, because I went through all of that, showing you niggas and making the connection with N-I-G-E-R with N-I-G-G-E-R as well as Negro. We're bringing all of that together because Negro was not a derogative term. N-I-G-E-R was not a derogative term, right? Let's go back here, though. Now, there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets, teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called, let me play the clip for you so you get the proper pronunciation of it. That was called
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
and Lucius of Cyrene and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. All right, so let's break this down more, family, because this is key. Simeon, that was called, let me play it one more time. All right, this will be the last time I play it for a little bit. Simeon, that was called
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
refers to his leadership position and not his skin complexion. Let me say that again. This title that is pronounced today, Niger, Simeon, right? That title is a position of a leadership position, not a skin complexion. As I just proved to you, Niger, even though we see the Greek here, right? But from a Hebraic expression, right? We'll see the word Nagid or Nagad, which is the ancient pronunciation, Nagad or Nagayad. We proved it with Negus, Negus, which the Ethiopian language is a Shemitic language. So Simeon, that was called Niger, refers to his leadership position, not to his skin complexion. Makes absolutely no sense when it's taken that way. And he's not the only one. When I say he, Pastor Price, he's not the only one that used this quote this way, this passage this way. So we are to believe that Niger, which today is pronounced Niger, which means black in Latin, is supposedly a surname for a so-called non-blood descendant of Israel who has an Israelite name. Because many don't teach that Simeon is an Israelite. They'll teach that, hey, look, Here's black people in the Bible. Look, Simeon let me play it here. Simeon the
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
Come on, family. Let me put things in this proper perspective here. Let's put things in this proper context. Let's start with Simeon, and we'll double back and we'll summarize this here. Look at what it says, Simeon, right? We see Simeon, Shimon, the name of 5 Israelites, even though there's others inside the text. It means hearkening. The second son of Jacob by Leah, one of Abraham's descendants, the one who took the infant Jesus in his arms in the temple. Now, this is key right here. A teacher at the church of Antioch. That is referring to Simeon, right, in Acts chapter 1. Then we also see the original name of Peter the apostle. So Simeon is a Hebrew Israelite, period. Every text where the name Simeon is used, it's referring to an Israelite. So was Simeon really an Israelite? Yes, I want to go even further with this and prove it with scripture. Was Simeon a proselyte? Here's a key verse, right, that proves Barnabas was an Israelite as well. We already proved it with Simeon, but we'll further prove this here. Look at here, Acts chapter 13, verse 14 through 44. Excuse me, Acts chapter 13, verse 42 through 44. Excuse me. And when the Judeans were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Shabbat. Now, when the congregation was broken up, many of the Judeans and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who speaking to them, persuaded them to continue in the grace of Yahweh. And the next Shabbat day came, almost the whole city together to hear the word of Yahweh. So it was the non-blood descendants coming to the Mashkan, right? That's the ancient pronunciation, right, of the worship place, Mashkan, asking to be taught on the Shabbat. So there was no struggle with honoring the Shabbat from those that was not descendants of Israel. So verse 1 says, Barnabas, Simeon, Lucius, and Manaen were prophets and teachers. So again, we prove Simeon is a Hebrew name. But what about the others? Are there any other proof that Barnabas, Simeon, Lucius, and Manaen were Israelites? Are there any other proof? Let's deal with Barnabas. Look at here, Acts chapter 4, verse 36. Look at what it says about Barnabas. It says here, and Joseph, who by the apostles were surnamed Barnabas, which is being interpreted the son of consolation, a Levite out of the country of Cyprus. So we see that Barnabas is an Israelite as well. All right, let's keep it going, family. I know it's a little late here on a Friday, or on a Sunday rather, Sunday night, work night for some of us. This is what else Pastor Price has said. He said the next name is Lucius. That don't sound Hebrew to me. That sounds Latin. Lucius means white. Is it a coincidence that one who's named after the prophet? So the assertion is that Lucius is a Caucasian. So does the name Lucius means white? Let's break this down. Come on, family. Let's stop with this multi-ethnic congregation, please. It wasn't like that. We're not going to make this thing generic, because in Acts chapter 11, it's very clear, and I'm going to show you the scripture, that the Israelites, right, they targeted teaching Judah. Now, they may have had some non-blood descendants that was there, but the primary groups that was there were bloodline Israelites. So let's not throw generic stuff in here inside the chat. And I want to prove to you with Acts chapter 11 that the Israelites at that time was targeting Judah. They weren't doing this generalized message that the church was giving. So I want to say this out of respect to the person that posted this. Antioch was known as a multi-ethnic congregation. You're completely incorrect. That's a Christian church, Christian Catholic church dialogue or talking point. And I'm going to prove you with scripture that is incorrect. They were not teaching or doing this universal, which universal or universalism is connected to Catholic. The name Catholic means universal. So let me prove it here. Bear with me. Not trying to, ruffle any feathers, but at the same time, got to ruffle some feathers because we got to let go of these, stop parroting these generic or these talking points that come from the very people that hijacked identities that didn't belong to them. So let's go back to Lucius. Look at here. It says illuminative Lucius, a Christian. Come on, family. They weren't Christians, but that's a whole nother discussion. Look at this here. Lucius equal light, bright, white. So does Lucius mean the racial construct of being white? Just like Niger, so to speak, supposedly mean the racial construct of being black? We're going to slam this, family. So does this mean Lucius was a white man? We're going to break it down. Is it a coincidence that the scripture says there were teachers and prophets in the land, and the first two names are black and white? We see here Niger, Simon. See, now we're seeing race being inserted, being injected into the narrative of this text. Race did not exist at that time. That's a modern construct. It was all about bloodline. Had nothing to do with a social construct that was created in the 17th century. But let's break this down, family. Let's prove that Lucius of Cyrene was an Israelite. We already proved Simeon. We already proved Barnabas. But now let's deal with Lucius. Acts chapter 2, verse 5 and 6. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Judeans, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now, when this was noise abroad, the multitude came together and was confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. Now, let's skip down to verse 7 through 10. Look at this here. And they were all amazed, right? These Israelites were amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born? Verse 9, Parthians, Medes, Elamites, the dwellers of Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, Asia, Phrygia, Pamphylia, and Egypt, and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene. There's that word Cyrene again. Oh, this is key right here. And strangers of Rome, Judeans and proselytes. Of course, your transliteration says Jews, but we know we're dealing with Israelites here. And then when it says proselytes, these are non-blood descendants of Israel. But we're going to break this down, family. We'll break this down. Bear with me. So in parts of Libya about Cyrene. Let's break it down. There's another key Israelite man from Cyrene. We see him highlighted in Matthew chapter 27, verse 32. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. They compelled to bear his cross. So that man that carried the cross for Christ, he was an Israelite. You know how Billy Graham or some of these guys, when they mentioned this guy right here, They'll say that he's a Negro, some of them, but they won't tell you that he's an Israelite. Come on, family. He was an Israelite. And he was from Cyrene. Why is this important, family? I'm going to break it down. So Barnabas was from Cyrene. Lucius was from Cyrene, right? So Pastor Price took two names out of Acts chapter 13, built an entire black and white racial theology into the passage. He inserted that into this passage, the understanding of the text. Lucius does not mean white man. Let me say that again. Lucius does not mean white man. It does not mean white woman. It doesn't mean a white person. The lexical root relates to light or illumination, not Caucasian ethnicity. And ironically, the text itself says Lucius of Cyrene. Guess what? Cyrene is in North Africa. Oh yeah, family. Cyrene is in North Africa. Let me say that again. I know when you start bringing out facts like this, man, remember, you start getting these trolls start coming out. Come on, jumping all over the hood of the car, got the dirty water, messing up your car even more, trying to wash your windshield. That's how the trolls jump out. Cyrene is in North Africa, but yet we are to believe that he's supposed to be a Caucasian. That's right. I was trying not to go there. Now waiting, no wait, please don't. I wasn't gonna go Suge Knight, trying to be all up in the videos. I wasn't trying to do that, but you made me go there. All right. So again, the lexical root relates to light or illumination, not Caucasian ethnicity. And ironically, the text itself says Lucius of Cyrene. And when we saw the input of Cyrene, we saw Libya, right? But guess what? This is North Africa, family, period. All right, let's continue. Let me prove it. Right? This is Libya. Cyrene is right here, right? Let's zoom it in. That's is that North Africa, family? Is that Africa? If I'm reading the map correctly, type 1. If you guys see that is Africa, type 1. If you believe that North Africa is not, especially at that time, if you believe that this is a Caucasian, if you believe Lucius is a Caucasian, type 2. Oh, come on, family. All right. Okay. All right. So Pastor Price Jr. ignored the actual geographic identifier while overemphasizing speculative racial symbolism, right? Are there any other proof that there were Israelites in Cyprus? Okay, we're going to prove it. Let's go to Acts chapter 11, verse 19. This is for that individual that want to make that want to insert in the comment section this universalism, this generic multi-ethnic, because those are talking points of the 1948ers as well as the church. Anyway, now look at this here. Now they which were scattered abroad, right? I want y'all to pay attention to this, man. The trolls gonna get mad at this one right here, right? Now, they which were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose about Stephen traveled as far as Phoenice and Cyprus and Antioch. Wait a minute. And Antioch, preaching the word to none but unto Judah only. Oh, come on. Is that a mic drop for that person that wanted to deal with this multicultural? Well, apparently, the disciples and all the followers, the teachers of the Messiah during that time, they didn't get that memo because according to here, Phoenice, Cyprus, and including Antioch, they were preaching the word to none other but Judah. Oh, come on. I got to bring this back out here again. Come on, family. Come on, family. Let me see if I can insert it here because I didn't upload it because it was too large for me to upload. Let me make sure here. Yeah, it was too large for me to upload. But let me make sure. Yeah. Let me play that video again. I'm gonna create a slide here. Let me get to where we are so we could just unpack this one more time. I'm not going to we're not going to go back over the whole teaching, of course, but let me just show you guys the clip again because I want to make sure you guys understand here. Then we're going to continue because I like to look at body language, and that's coming from being in the prior military. You're taught to pay attention to not just what is being said, right, the verbals, but you're also taught to pay attention to the nonverbals. All right. And this is the unfortunate thing, man, because, when we're dealing with certain spaces, man, our brothers and sisters can, do more damage than good because many of them won't have dialogue with those from within our community. Many want to play it safe, right? I love to talk to that Ezekiel guy, and really go in with the text. All right, but what's going on here? Oh, let me do it. Let me do it again. All right, I'm just creating a video right now. I mean, not a video, a slide, so I can insert this here real quick. All right, here we go. All right, so let's play that video again. I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm going to go back a slide here. Let's go back here, and then we'll continue. All right, let me go ahead and unmute this so you can hear it. Pay attention to the facial expressions. All right, here we go.
So Acts 13, let's go with like the first 5 or 6 verses. The scripture says there were certain prophets and teachers, and then it starts to list them. Now after the list is given, the scripture says, separate unto me Saul and Barnabas. But there's some names given before that. 3 names. I'm gonna start with the last name first. Manaen. Manaen was someone who grew up with Herod's family. So odds are he was an Edomite. And you've probably heard the view of Hebrew Israelites on Edomites.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say they're partly right and partly wrong.
Okay.
But we can get to that later.
Okay.
It's the first 2 names that stand out. It's crazy. The first is a man named Niger. His name is Simon, but they say Simon called Niger.
Mm-hmm.
And Niger means black.
Yes.
So this man was black.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know if you're familiar with the term Negus, Negus.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's an Ethiopian term of nobility.
Yes.
You see how it got perverted.
Yes.
We don't even need to say the word
Yes.
that clearly came from that word, right?
Absolutely.
So it's Niger in a sense is another way that you could say that. And we're familiar with the African nation
Yes.
of Niger.
Yes.
Right? Niger means black. All right. So remember, 3 names are listed. The last name is Manaen.
Mhm.
The first name is Niger. The next name is Lucius. That don't sound Hebrew to me.
Mm-mm.
That sounds Latin.
Yeah.
Bro, Lucius means white. Is it a coincidence, Ezekiel? One who's named after the prophet. Is it a coincidence that the scripture says there were teachers and prophets in the land, and the first 2 names are black and white?
Ugh.
Niger, Simon,
Oh man.
or Simon or Simeon. I think it's Simeon.
Yes, I mean, yes.
called Niger and Lucius. Literally. You can read it like this.
That's so beautiful.
You can read it like this. There were certain prophets and teachers, black and white.
All right, family. Okay. All right. So let's go back here. All right. Good night, Karaya. Yeah, we're not gonna go too much longer here. We go a little bit longer because it is a work night for me. All right. But look at here. Now they which were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose about Stephen traveled as far as Phoenice, Cyprus, and Antioch, preaching the word to none but unto who? Judah. Judah only. Okay. All right. And some of them were men of Cyprus and Cyrene, which when they were come to Antioch, spake unto the Grecians, preaching Adonijah Yahweh Shai. In other words, Lord Jesus. That's what it transliterates to. So we see that, right? This proves that in Antioch, there was an Hebrew Israelite assembly that they were what? Targeting the Israelites, as we saw here in Antioch, right? So who are these people, right? Now we get into the Grecians, right? Who are these Grecians? What is a Grecian? Let's see what a Grecian is. We see the word Hellenistes, but it says a Hellenist or Greek-speaking Israelite. You see the word Jew, that's a whole another discussion. But the point is, Hellenist or Greek-speaking Israelite, right? One who imitates the manners and customs or the worship of the Greeks and use the Greek tongue. Used in the New Testament of Israelites born in, or Judah born in foreign lands and speaking Greek. So we prove that in Acts chapter 11, that they're speaking and teaching to no other but the Israelites. So guess what? Those Grecians are Israelites. They're not of other nations. All right. Okay, family. But this is the other thing he says about Acts chapter 13, verse 1. Manaen was someone who grew up with Herod's family. So odds are he was an Edomite. That's what he said, right, family? So was Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod, was he an Edomite or was he an Israelite? Well, let's break it down here. Here's the proof that Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod, was an Israelite. Let's prove it here. Acts chapter 13, verse 1. All right. We see his name listed here. I'm not going to read it again, but you see his name listed here, Manaen. All right. So was Manaen an Israelite? Josephus, Antiquity of the Jews, page 565. Look at what he says here. Now there was one of the Essenes whose name was Manaen, who had this testimony that he not only conducted his life after an excellent manner, but it had the foreknowledge of future events given him by God also. This man once saw Herod when he was a child, and going to school, he saluted him as king of the Jews, the Israelites. But he, thinking that either he did not know him or that he was in jest, put him in mind that he was but a private man. But Manaen smiled to himself and clapped him on his back side with his hand and said, however that be, thou wilt be king and wilt begin thy reign happily, for God finds thee worthy of it. Okay. So according to Josephus, Manaen was a Essene. Look at here. He was an Essene. So now we need to understand who are the Essenes. Going back to the works of Josephus, here, the complete unabridged. At this time, there were 3 sects among the Israelites, among Judah, who had different opinions concerning human actions. The one was called the sect of the Pharisees, and another the sect of Sadducees, and the other the sect of Essenes, right? So we see the Essenes here, they are what? Israelites. Is that a mic drop right there? That's a mic drop, family. The Essenes, they are Israelites. Okay. So Manaen was an Essene, right? And the Essenes are Israelites. Barnabas, Simeon, Lucius, and Manaen were Israelites. So Simon or Simeon wasn't called the title Niger because of his skin complexion. Let me say that again. Simeon wasn't called the title
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
because of his skin complexion, but because of his position. Because remember, Nagayad or Nagid or Nagad, those are positions of authority, means leader. He was a leader over the assembly in Antioch. All right. So all the original disciples, guess what? They were Negroes, family. They were Israelites. So is it a coincidence that the scripture says, this is a quote by Dr. Price again, says there were teachers, prophets in the land, and the first 2 names are black and white. Okay. So Pastor Price took the term Niger and instantly turned Simeon into the black prophet while turning Lucius into the white prophet. But Acts chapter 13 never says that. The passage is not about, the passage is about leadership in Antioch. It's not about racial symbolism. Let me say it again. This passage, this chapter, it's all about leadership in Antioch. It's not about a racial symbolism. All right, family? So the Hebrew concept of Nagad or Nagid refers to rulership and leadership, which fits the context of prophets and teachers far more naturally than forcing modern racial categories into the text. All right? Did we drop the mic on that, family? Did we drop the mic on that? All right. All right. All right. Let's see if we got time for another one. I'm not going to stay up too much longer here. Let's see what we got here. We may have to continue this next weekend.
If we wanted to come up with a complexion for Jesus, all we have to do is come up with a complexion for Adam. Because Jesus is the last Adam. Now, the response to whitewashing cannot be blackwashing. You can't make everything pitch black. That's not the response. No, again, going back to calling a spade, the Bible says Adam was made from the dust of the earth and he was reddish. He probably looked like a dark Native American. That was probably his complexion. If we go to Revelation 1, where it says he has woolly hair and feet of brass, literally the Greek says burnished burnished copper, which would give him like a middle brown complexion, a very composite brown. Well, that's what Adam would have been. And if Jesus was the last Adam, listen, if I was a betting man, even though none of us can prove it because we weren't there, but if I was a betting man, Jesus would have been the same color as Adam. Whatever color the first Adam was, the last Adam would have been the same color. An utter representation of all of mankind.
Okay, family. How do you digest what you just heard? How do you digest what you just heard? How do you digest it? That is a lot to unpack. Mm, that is a lot to unpack. Native American. How did Native American and why Native American is even in, especially if we want to deal with the Native Americans, are we dealing with the Native Americans that was like looking like Ethiopians? Are we dealing with the Native Americans when we start understanding blue black and we start understanding the term India, Indian, indigo, blue black? Now, I want to make this clear, family. I commend his father, Fred Price Sr., for being a trailblazer who sacrificed his entire ministry. He was at the height of his ministry. He did a series called Race and Religion. Even had a 3-part book, and it turned the televangelist community upside down with the things that he came out with. I'm greatly appreciative because I learned a lot from even watching some of his father's work. And Fred Price, Dr. Fred Price Jr. has done a lot as well. So I want to make sure that we give proper clarity. I'm not here to bash anyone. I'm simply, dealing with context. That goes for any of my brothers and sisters that are truly doing the work and have a desire to learn and draw closer to the Most High. So how do we get that, family? How do we unpack that? How do we unpack that, family? I guess we're just going to have to unpack it, right? We are going to unpack it. And I know some of you guys may be viewing things from a perspective of he's a pastor. It should be easy. Family, it's not easy. It is not easy like you think it is. It's not as easy as like you think it is. Pastors are under so much pressure. I am a pastor. But then you have to just draw the line. Like the old school would say, where the rubber meets the road. And you just got to tell the truth. You got to really be about that life of telling the truth, not holding back and not caring what people have to say. Because the word is going to separate. That's what Christ made it clear. His words are going to what? Separate. This truth is going to separate households. Let's just unpack it. Y'all ready to unpack it? Y'all ready to just go ahead and open up the suitcase here? Let's do that here, family. All right. Now, these presentations are coming from an older presentation, and I was trying to clean that up, right, to make it more up to date, but I didn't have time. It was just taking too much time. But let's go to the Song of Solomon. Let's just build on this, right? Let's start with Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Quadar, as the curtains of Solomon, Shalamah. Family, this is King Solomon's wife, making it clear that according to scripture, she's making it clear that she is what we heard in that was like a famous 60s and 70s theme. I'm black and beautiful, black and beautiful. Black shakawar, but comely, na'awa. O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Quadar, as the curtains of Solomon, Shalamah. So as the tents of Kedar or Quadar. Let's look up Quadar, family. Look at what Quadar says. It says dusky of the skin or the tent. But the key is Kedar equals dark. It equals dark. Okay, family? I'll say it again. Kedar equals dark. And it comes from the primitive root word Quadar. Look at here. Let's go to the primitive root word. It says to be ashy. An example, dark. Be black. Blackish. Be dark. Make dark. Be dark end. Make dark end. So Solomon's wife is making it clear that she is a beautiful Shakar or Quadar woman. Let's look at the Eastern Bible Dictionary definition of this word. Kedar, dark-skinned. That's the key, family. Kedar, dark-skinned. They lived in their black hair tents to dwell in the tents of Kedar or Kedar. All right, but that's the key I want to point out. Dark-skinned. So Kedar means dark-skinned, family. Remember that. We dealt with this ChatGPT. Remember that, family? When I shut down ChatGPT and it apologized. The prophet Jeremiah says Judah is dark-skinned. Let's break this down real quick. Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2. This is one of those passages that many purposely try to deceive you with by trying to say that in this text is not saying that they are dark-skinned people. Judith mourneth, Abal, and the gates thereof languish, Amal. They are black unto the ground. And here where you see black, you'll see the word Quadar, unto the ground, Arat. And the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. So let's look at the first word that we see here, mourn, Abal. Let's see what that word means. Abal, it means to bewail, lament, mourn. So Abal describes the actions, the behavior, demeanor, and the temperament of the Israelites, okay? Then when we look at the word languish, it means amal. That's the Hebrew word amal. Amal means to droop, by implication, to be sick, weak, feeble, wax feeble. So amal describes the security, vulnerabilities of a compromised, weakened gates due to a weakened, compromised people. So the proper read of that passage would be Judah, Yahweh is displaying a passionate display of grief. In their gates, their cities is weak. And then we get to the word Quadar. That's what you will see in the ancient text. To be ashy, or an example, dark colored, To be ashy, an example, dark colored. So Quadar describes the physical appearance of Judah. Their skin is dark and ashy like the ground. So Judah is experiencing a drought, family. They're experiencing a drought. Jeremiah 14:2 is describing Judah's physical appearance during a famine. Let's go down to verse 3 and 4 to prove this here. And their nobles, Nagad, sent their little ones to the waters. They came to the pits and found no water. They returned to their vessels empty. They were ashamed and confounded and covered their heads. Because the ground, Adamah, is chapped, Chafah, for there is no rain in the earth. The plowmen were ashamed. They covered their heads. So we see the ground is what? Chapped. The Adamah is chapped. So Judah's skin is chapped like the ground. That's what the scriptures comparing their skin to being like a dried ground in the middle of a drought. So when we look at the Hebrew word chap, right, it says to prostrate, to break down, beat down, to be shattered, to be broken, right? But let's look at the etymology definition of the word chap. It says to split, cause to crack, cause to split or crack. So the proper read of this text is Judah is displaying a passionate display of grief, which is Abal. Their gates, their cities, Amal, in other words, are weak, and their skin is Quadar, in other words, dark and ashy like the ground. Judah is displaying a passionate display of grief. Their gates, their city are weak, and their skin is dark and ashy like the ground. All right, family, let's continue. Look at this, family. That's the illustration of what we just read, right? You see the ground, the Adamah, that Adam would have looked like. Let me zoom in so that way you can even see the crevices of his hand that looks like the ground, right? What do you think, guys? What do you think, guys? This is a photo from Sudan. What do you think, guys? Come on, family. There's something special about you, Judah. There's something special about you, Israel or Yashara'al. Come on, family. Come on, family. Sudan, foreign Judah is what it means. Come on, family. Let's continue. So was the Israelites black and ashy due to mourning? Because, they'll try to say, well, they were crying, they were mourning. They were not mourning from the perspective of like fasting and praying and that type of thing. That wasn't going down in this passage. Sackcloth, shakah, with ashes, right? Apar, were worn during a time of mourning. Esther chapter 4, verse 1 through 3 confirms this. I'm not going to read all of this, but it makes it clear Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes. All right, let's fast forward. I don't want to read all of this. Oh, yeah, but we see here, there was great mourning, Abal, that's the Hebrew word you see there, among the Judeans, and fasting and weeping and wailing. And many lay in sackcloth, shakah, and ashes, ra-pa'ah. But guess what, family? We don't see in this text Zakar, or excuse me, Quadar. So in these passages, why was all of Judah in mourning? Esther makes it clear. The fast was declared and the people wore sackcloth and ashes due to what was happening, the decree that was made, the genocide. Mordecai and Judah were facing a major crisis of their lives, and a decree of the extermination had been issued by the Persian Empire. All right, but let's fast forward. I don't want to get into all of this here. All right. So in the book of Jeremiah, there's 2 times when we see the people instructed to wear sackcloth at a time of mourning was declared. We see it, however, like we see in the book of Jeremiah, however, chapter 14, verse 2 is not one of those times. Jeremiah 14:2 is not a time of mourning from a perspective of sackcloth and fast and all that. It is an extreme famine going on. Okay, let's wrap this up, family. So when we go back to I am black, We see that word shakar, and this is going back to what we saw in the Song of Solomon, chapter 1. Shakar means to be dim. It means dark. It means be black. All right. I got to fix this slide. I'm not going to do it right now. I got to get some of these transitions out. Right. This is Johann Blumenbach, the man that created the institution of race. That's the picture you see here. He was a German or Ashkenazi. Black shakarwarth means, or shakarwar means to be dim or black. See, that's something about that dim that doesn't sit well with me. Because when we think about dim, look at what it means. Dim, dark, gloomy, obscure, not clearly seen, indistinct. You know, we got to be careful, family, especially when we start looking at these definitions, because doesn't it sound similar to some of the stereotypes about our skin complexion, dim? Doesn't it seem kind of negative here? What do you guys think? Does this seem like a negative entry here when we deal with the word dim, and to see this under the definition of shakawath or shakawar? That's kind of, look at here, not bright, faintly luminous, modern slang of sense, dull of apprehension, stupid. Stereotypical, right? Okay. And when we look at the Oxford Dictionary definition of dim, look at here. Not shining brightly or clearly, made difficult to see by darkness, shade, or distance. All right, let me make it clear. We're not getting into all that politics. All right, we don't roll with that over here. Both Democrats and Republicans are garbage. All these political parties are garbage. So please do not post any political political stuff here inside the comment section. All right. I want to make it clear. Don't post any more of that stuff here or you'll be blocked. Okay. All right. Let's continue. So is the word dim, shakawar, complementary to the Negro? All right. Is the word dim complementary to the Negro? Is it complementary? And I'm going to tell you absolutely no. But I'm black and I'm comely. The words of his wife. In other words, suitable or beautiful. Why is she saying this? How do we bring this all together? The primitive root definition of comely, let's see what it says here. To be at home, be pleasant, be fitting. So what does this mean? I am black, but comely means black and beautiful. Okay? I am black, but comely means I am dark and lovely. Y'all remember that product, dark and lovely? The queen is telling Solomon or Shalamah that her beauty, Na'awa, is suitable and befitting of a king. They're flirting with each other, family. In other words, who can find a virtuous woman? Y'all know that passage. Who can find a suitable woman? That all connects to this here. Not going to go through all of this, but Proverbs 31 verse 1 through 3 deals with a virtuous man, followed by a virtuous woman. All right, but let's keep it going. Let's go to Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 6. Right? Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard have I not kept. All right. So look not upon me. Right. Let's break this down real quick. The Hebrew definition of look upon, ra'ah, it means to see, approve, behold, discern, enjoy, take heed, look low. All right. But let's bring it all together. Look upon me. What she's saying here, look upon me. In other words, right? Ra'ah means to approve, behold, enjoy, gaze. They're flirtatious here, family. So look not upon me because I am black, right? Black in this verse means swarthy black. All right. When we look at swarthy black, look, this is what it says here. Dark colored, especially skin, of the skin. Okay. Solomon was being told, stop staring. Y'all know Solomon was a flirt with his wife. That's what we're reading here. Shalamah was being told, stop staring. Though her skin was dark in color like the tents, she was very lovely like the expensive regal curtains that flanked the tents of King Solomon. So what is the meaning? What is the true skin complexion of the Messiah? Now let's bring this all together. So we dealt with black and beautiful, right? Black is beautiful, right? What is the true skin complexion of the Messiah? Did Christ have olive skin? What does it mean to have olive skin? We hear that all the time. Oxford dictionary definition of olive: a small oval fruit with a hard pit and bitter flesh, green when unripe and brownish black when ripened, used as food and as a source of oil. Entry 3, a grayish green, color like an unripe olive. Okay. Grayish. Oh, let's go back here. Grayish green. Grayish green, like an unripe olive. Fatigues. All right. Did Christ have green skin, family? Because that's the description you hear. An olive. Did the biblical Israel have green skin? Absolutely not. Revelation 6 and verse 7 and 8. This is now getting into breaking down the word, pale and all that. I'm not going to spend too much time in here for the sake of time, because it's getting late and I am tired. But let me get to a key point here, right? This is dealing with the word pale, right? Green, right? That's associated with death. That's what this passage is referring to, right? And when we look at the definition of the word green, look at what it says: greenish, verdant, dun color. All right. So you see, there's nothing beautiful about being unripe, right? Green, right? Yellowish pale. And we'll see this in Genesis 1 and 30. Every beast of the earth, every fowl of the air. But the key here, as we go down here, it says, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so, right? And when we look at the definition of the word green here, we see yellowish green of young and sickly vegetation. Come on, family. Christ did not have no green Martian messed up skin. Did Christ have green skin? No. Now, look at this, family. Let's start bringing this in here. This is the Arabic slave market of the Yemen Israelites being sold as slaves. Look at this, family. Excuse the transitions. I don't want to make you guys dizzy, but my apologies. What do you see here? These are the Arabs. These are the Yemenites that are being sold as slaves. And this is whom the Limba pointed out their connection to the Yemenites as well when you study the history and the testimonies. This is, again, let me go back here. Illustration of a slave market in Yemen, 13th century. All right. So what is the true complexion of the Messiah? Let's go to Revelation chapter 14, verse 14 and 15. Let's see if the Messiah was middle, did he say middle red, middle brown? His head and his hair was white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. His feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. So to understand this text, you would have to understand it through the eyes or through the lens of the Hebrews, right? So we're going to explain we're going to use King Solomon to explain the complexion of the Messiah, right? Because you'll see similarities of some of the words here, the phrase, right? My beloved is white and ruddy. In other words, Sakah, ruddy, Adamah, the chief is among 10,000s. All right. My beloved is white. We see that word Sakah or Tzak in short. So let's look at it. Tzak. Let's see what this word means. It says bedazzling white. Make a note of that, family. As we see here, be aglow. All right, glow. And when we look at the word white from the Oxford, it says here, blind temporarily, but the key is sub-entry 1.1. Amaze or overwhelm. In other words, someone with a particular impressive quality. Now we start to put things in this proper perspective. So in Hebrew, white means amazing. My beloved is white and ruddy. Really, it means my beloved is amazing. Okay. So ruddy, let's look at ruddy real quick. Right? It says rosy, red, ruddy. Then we see here, it's giving you more of a descriptor, right? Ruddy, red, but look at here. Man, horse, heifer, garment, water, lentils. Now, what color is the so-called red heifer? Looks more like a brown cow to me, a dark brown cow. What do you guys think? Doesn't it look, the red heifer is a dark brown cow? How now, brown cow, right? Leaders of the old school rather, or new school rather. All right, anyway. All right, let's continue, fam. I'm getting a little tight. I'm trying to get to the end of this here. Webster Unabridged Dictionary 1913, definition of ruddy. Look at what it says. It's going to prove this point. Of a lively flesh color or the color of human skin in high health. All right, make a note of that. Ruddy, the color of human skin in high health. So when we go to Genesis 25 and 25, dealing with Esau, it says the first came out red, Adamawana, all over like in hairy garment, and they called his name Esau or Ashar. So what's Esau the white man? Let's break this down. Look at what it says about ruddy. Ruddy is the form taken by the adjective red when used as a term of praise of the human skin. And this is the issue, and this is its use in the Bible. The dark-skinned Hebrews, it didn't say the middle-skinned Hebrews. The dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty and a clear complexion. That's for the definition of ruddy. This is coming from the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, 1915. I didn't write it, family. So again, dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty and a clear complexion. And when we look at that word rosy, of healthy complexion, cheerful, promising. White, let's give clarity. White, tzaka, and ruddy, adamawa, simply means amazing, beautiful skin. So let's go back here and put things in this proper context, right? Let's go to verse 11. His head is the most fine gold. His locks are bushy and black as a raven. Right? So we see kwawatsa or kwawats, wath, that's the feminine plural. It says his locks are bushy. Thalatha, thal, yam, that's the masculine plural. So thalathal. And black, shakar, as a raven. So his locks are bushy. Let's see what bushy means in Hebrew. It says here, trailing bow. But look at here, it says bushy. But in the sub-entry, in entry 1, it says wavy, branchy. Family, let me just say this about what it was saying about Esau. What was the significance of ruddy in that text? Because Esau was very unusually hairy. So the word ruddy there, adamawana, was making it clear that there was nothing wrong with his skin. He was hairy, but he had no blemishes in the skin. Anyway, let's get back here. So we see here this word Bushy means wavy. Now think about it, family. How does our hair look when we have locks or just let it or brush it? It looks wavy, right? Branchy. Locks look branchy, right? Okay. Let's go to the primitive root word, thalal, right? Because thalal, the primitive definition of this word means mound, to pile up. So it looks like when you look at locks, it looks like what? A pile of what? Branches. Oh, come on, family. You know we the people of the book. So his locks are like a mound. That's giving clarity, a proper transliteration. A pile of hair. Locks were very popular among the ancient Israelite priests. Numbers chapter 6, verse 5. Look at this. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head. It goes on to say, shall let the locks of his head grow. Then we see Judges chapter 13. This is King Solomon. This is Samson. Delilah said unto Samson, here the two mock me. Thou hast mocked me. But it goes on to say, and I'm not going to read all this. Let's go to here. It says, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head. So Samson had locks. Look at Ezekiel. We still haven't dealt with the skin complexion, right? And he put forth the form of an hand and took me by a lock of my head. So Ezekiel had locks. And of course, this is just giving you information. It was the Europeans that added the word dread to the locks. All right, but let's continue here, family. Let's fast forward. Because how did this tie into the Messiah? Am I saying that the Messiah had locks? And family, let's not deal. And I want to say it's the Europeans that added the word dread to locks out of fear of the Ethiopian soldiers. They were just simply called locks, right? It was the fear that they had in those Ethiopians that they put the dread there. And that made it into a negative term. But let's go to Revelation chapter 1, verse 14. His head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. The key word we see here is like, because like means having the same characteristics or quality. Let me say that again. Like means having the same characteristics or qualities, having the same form. So head and his hairs were white like wool. But first, let's deal with hair. Let's deal with hair first. I think we're going to deal with hair first. The Greek word is thrix. Look at what it says here. Tell us what to compare it to. But it says the hair of the head, thrix. So thrix is comparable to the Greek word kome. That's what it says. It's comparable. When we go here, we see kome here. So it's saying that this word is comparable to, kome. Well, what is kome? Let's go to the Greek definition of kome. Look at what kome means. The hair of the head, locks. Wait a minute, because think about it. The Messiah lived the Nazareth vow throughout his entire life. He would have had locks. Oh, but I know, according to what we heard, Christ would have looked more like, he would have been a middle brown, and he would have looked like a Native American. Come on, family. So kome means the hair of the head. In other words, locks. Solomon locks are like a mound, a pile of hair. Family, does that look like the texture of our hair? What do you guys think? Type 1 if you think so. We can wrap this up. Type 1 if you think so. Does this look like the texture of our hair? For the most part. If you believe this looked like the texture of our hair, type 1. All right. I see some ones here. Now, this image here, believe it or not, it's a superimposed image, right? Let me show you here. All right. That's that image. That's the original image. That is a sheep right here. You see, remember the word like means having the same characteristics, similar characteristics. So this looks like our hair. This is our hair. Anyway. And then when we see white as snow, right? Mark chapter 9, verse 2 and 3, this is dealing with how Christ was transfigured on the Shabbat. Right? I'm not going to get into all of this, but you know, this ties into King Solomon, right? Because it says here, exceeding white as snow, right? This ties into Revelation chapter 1, but it also ties into Song of Solomon. All right, but let's go ahead and break this down real quick. Remember, Hebraic white means amazing. Saka. When we see here, exceeding white, this means that his skin was amazing, right? The reflection of him was amazing. Saka. But let's go back here to Revelation, right? I want to get to a key point here, right? Because we see here, his hair were like wool, as white as snow. His eyes were as a flame of fire. And then we see this repeated again in 2 and 18, right? These things said, son of Elohim, who hath his eyes like unto a flame of fire, right? His feet like fine brass. And excuse me here for not putting verse 15 back here. All right, my apologies. I meant to put the feet here. All right, but let's deal with this burnt copper. Let's break this down. His feet like unto fine brass is actually copper, because brass did not exist at that time. The definition of copper, right? It says here, again, copper, right? It says here filthiness, steel, but the key is copper. All right. And that's that word nakashath, right? And when we look at brass, I'm not going to get into all this, family. I'm getting tired. I don't want to read all of this. All right. Because I could break this down, but this would take more time. I want to just get to what we're going to get to. All right. Let's fast forward, family. Just further proving the deception of the word brass. But let's get to what we need to get to. All right. Copper. And I want to bring this up here, right? An unknown fact about copper dealing with the Statue of Liberty, right? Because many stated that the Statue of Liberty, at least this version here, is a Negro. Now, I have images of the other that it stems from, but this right here, let's see why many thought this was a Negro, right? Let me fast forward here. Let's go to here. I'm trying to see a good point here. It is true that the original face of the statue was dark in color. However, the material underneath the familiar green finish is copper, which is a dark metal. So when you look at copper, right, before it, the erosions and everything kicked in, because when you see the green, that's due to the water. That's the erosion. But copper is actually dark. It's not this middle brown. It's dark. Have you guys ever seen a true copper penny? A true copper penny looks what? Dark like your skin, doesn't it? I'm not sure how they're doing coins nowadays. So I brought this up for a reason because, as it says here, the New York Post 1896 showing the statue with a black face. So when you look at the original picture of the Statue of Liberty, it looks dark. It looks like a dark melanated person. That's before the erosion kicked in. All right. Let's see. Any other things we need to cover? So the Messiah's skin complexion is fine bronze that was burned in a fire, right? That's what we see in the scripture. Remember, copper is a dark metal, So was the Messiah an Arab or an Arab complexion skin? We proved that no. All right. All right. But let me fast forward, family. Let's deal with the sound of many waters. Let's wrap up with this here because I'm tired. I'm barely making it here. Let's deal with his voice as the sound of many waters. And that's, I don't think I put it here, verse 15. His feet like unto fine brass as if they burned in the furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. And I'm going to show you that uh, Dr. Price is one key person that if he went in and studied in terms of the comparison, he'll see exactly and get an understanding of who Phineas, or excuse me, the Christ, his complexion and everything is comparable to. I understand going to Adam, but you need to go to a key person by the name of Phineas, right? Let's deal with Phineas, right? You know, remember the one drop Negro blood rule, family, right? That anyone with a drop of our blood is considered a Negro. So I want to make sure you guys understand that. I'm not going to read all of this. That's what this is about, right? But look at here. Let's fast forward. Let's go to Phineas. Exodus chapter 6, verse 25, right? And Eleazar, Aaron's son, took him one of the daughters of Pudel to wife. She bare him Phineas, right? Payanakas, right? So make a note of that, family. Phineas, Payanakas, was a common name among the priests. We'll see this in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 3, dealing with Eli's sons, right? It says, and this man went out of his city yearly to worship and sacrifice unto Yahweh of hosts in Shiloh, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, Payanakas, the priests of Yahweh, were there. So look at what Phineas means in the Eastern Bible Dictionary. It says here, Phineas, mouth of brass, from old Egypt. But it means what? The Negro. Wait a minute. So mouth of brass, right? The Negro. To properly understand his voice of the sound of many waters, you have to understand Phineas. He's being comparable to Phineas, the Negro. Well, I got to prove that, right? Phineas means mouth of brass, the Negro. When we go to the definition of Phineas, look at here. Mouth of a serpent. In other words, we're dealing with judgment, right? The name of 3 Israelites. And we know that they're Negroes, Levites. Look at here. It gives the 3 names: son of Eleazar, grandson of Aaron. We dealt with this person here. We dealt with Eli, son, but also the father of a helper of Ezra. So Phineas means mouth of brass, mouth of the serpent. When we go to Numbers chapter 25, verse 13, this will give you clarity. And he shall have it and his seed after him, even the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because of he was zealous for his Elohim and made an atonement for the children of Israel. So his zealousness again for Yahweh averted a plague on Israel, right? Phineas, right? He took a stand here. Why? Because you had the Israelites mixing and meshing with Moabite women, and the Most High cursed her with a plague or a pestilence or a venereal disease, an incurable disease that 24 to 25,000 of them died off. That's what this is talking about here. I'm not reading all of this. I'm just kind of highlighting this real quick. It was dealing with, the worship of Baal Peor, which is a perversion, a perverted deity, right? So Israel was camped in the plains of Moab along with the Jordan River across from the great city of Jericho. The area was also called Shittim, right? Balaam, the false prophet, the diviner and sorcerer, was unable to call down a curse upon Israel, so he came up with a satanic plan. Balaam suggested to the king of Moab to have the Moabite women seduce the Israelite men into sexual perversions. He suggested that this perhaps would arouse the anger of Yahweh against the Israelites, causing Yahweh to judge and curse them. Wrapping this up, once they were enslaved to sex, the women could invite them to their festivals of worship, encouraging them to join the worship of their deities. All right. So again, dealing with the Native American, right? Oh, let's fast forward here. Did I have it here? I'm sorry, family. I forgot to put it all here. So let me just wrap it up. So Phineas took a stand. Phineas, right? In that chapter that I made reference to, Numbers chapter 25, right? And I'm just pulling this passages up so you can see it here. While the Most High allowed a pestilence to come before the people, 24 to 25,000 Israelites died to this plague, died to this venereal disease, right? And so, as you see here, yeah, it's 25,000 in verse 9 here. So what happened here was there was a couple, an Israelite couple, who decided that they were going to get busy, right? Have sexual intercourse in front of all the people while they were mourning. Phineas decided to be proactive. He decided to take a stand, and he slaughtered them. He passed judgment on them. And the Most High made a promise to Phineas that his descendants will always be what? Among the high priests. Go back and look it up, family. I'm not, I'm just summing it up, family. So Phineas, right? Because when you say mouth of brass, he was firm, family. He spoke with power. He spoke with authority. So when you see voice of many waters in Revelation chapter 1, verse 15, that is describing Phineas the Negro. Come on, family. It's too easy. Now we use King Solomon to explain amazing, beautiful skin, but we use Phineas to really go even further, the Negro, to also give clarity on the mouth of brass, the voice of many waters. So we're going to stop right here, family, because I didn't even realize it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. All right. But we're going to stop right here. I know we went straight into the lesson here. We got so much that we were able to bring out tonight, but I'm getting ready to go to bed. All right. So I really appreciate you guys. I wanted to do a special teaching. Thank you, Amma, for the love and support, family. Let's show Amma holding it down in California, the love and support for the offering tonight, for the contribution tonight. And again, family, if you want to contribute to what we're doing here, I don't do the Cash App anymore because of Cash App, the craziness with that. But with that being said, just the Patreon account link is posted in the comment section, or should I say in the chat. Whatever you want to pledge, or not pledge, I don't like to use that word pledge, but whatever you want to contribute, feel free to do so. All right. But with that being said, family, in the words of Yahweh, right, that the words that he gave to Moses in Exodus chapter 14, verse 15 and 16. Oh, you know what, family? Let me just say this real quick. I did want to close out with this final point before I wrap up, because I didn't put it inside, place it inside here before we wrap up, because I do want to touch on this real quick, tying into what we covered, the contradiction of what Pastor Price pointed out, that was really troubling. I didn't have a chance to finish up the slide. Let me just say this real quick, right? When we start really understanding the contradictions that we see here, especially when we start dealing with the description, the multiple times that he changed when it came to Phineas, right? Because he changed a number of times. He changed a number of times. When you listen to the entire discussion, he changed a number of times, right? He said a number of things, but he definitely changed a number of times throughout that discussion here. All right, bear with me 1 second. All right. Now, what are some of the contradictions, right? Inside the interview, he described Adam a number of ways, right? You know what I mean? When you go back and listen to it, right? He mentions ruddy, burnished brass, the last Adam, right? He mentioned these things, typology, but he mentioned a lot of contradictions, right? He mentioned Adam was ruddy, but he didn't start off by saying Adam was ruddy. Price says Adam was reddish brown. Therefore, Christ, as the last Adam, would share Adam's complexion. Early on, he said that Adam, and the host or the interviewer said that Adam was dark like him. But then it changed. It changed. Ruddy doesn't equate to middle brown skin as what was highlighted. Burnished brass doesn't equate to middle brown complexion at all, as what was suggested. You know, it was a lot that was stated there when the Native American comparison was even brought up. So the contradiction also is this pointing out about blackwashing the text. Remember, he said, don't blackwash it. He said the answer to whitewashing is not blackwashing. But then he reconstructs Adam. He reconstructs Christ. He defines complexion ranges. He defines middle brown categories, even compares and state that Christ or Adam would look like the Native Americans. So despite verbally rejecting blackwashing, he still performs racial reconstruction. Is that correct? He still goes through that that process. Got to call it what it is. Am I right, family? You know, so there's a, you know, like I said, there's several contradictions there that we can really address, but I'm not going to address all of them. But I just want to give a little clarity on that, because that was the thing that I meant to really add to the presentation, but I didn't have a chance of adding it because I didn't want to be too long with coming on here. You know, and that's the point that I want to really bring home when we start really dealing with Adam as he dealt with Adam. There was a number of contradictions with that. All right. What do you think, guys? What do you guys think? All right. What do you guys think? All right. So with that being said, family, we're going to wrap up. Fear ye not, stand still. See the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today would not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you, family. But here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.
Somebody better call